Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. Before we get started, I'm just going to give a few more minutes for the late arrivals. My name's Tasha. I work for Ingram Micro Cloud, and today you're joining us for the third in our final series of 3 of workshops with Deborah. So I'll just give it maybe another 30 seconds or so and just allow those late arrivals to log on. And then I'll be back with you in just a moment. While we're waiting for some other arrivals, just going to do a sound check. Ivy, can you just check in the chat box to make sure I'm being heard correctly, that I'm all good, no background noise. Excellent. Thank you very much. And Tim, don't forget to put yourself on mute when you're not speaking. Thank you, Tim. So good morning. Like I have mentioned, I'm Tasha. I work for the Ingram Micro Cloud team, and I'm here this morning to introduce you to Deborah, unified call recording and voice AI solution that's just recently launched on our Ingram Micro Cloud marketplace. So Deborah was created to enable businesses, governments, and organizations of any size the ability to capture conversations and sentiment in real time, to improve customer satisfaction and to gain critical compliance, which I think everyone can agree is a growing necessity when dealing with the public and privacy. You can buy Deborah for Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx, Zoom, or even Telstra customers can purchase off our Ingram Marketplace. So at the end of the Deborah presentation, I will actually show you how to order off our marketplace. But at the moment, we're going to be joined by Andy Lark and Tim Ward from Deborah. And they are going to, I guess, go through some of the revenue, I guess, and growth opportunities that you can have selling Deborah. At the end of the presentation, after I show you how you can order the products, I will also do a Q&A. So please make sure you put your questions in the chat box and we'll answer them absolutely. And then also there'll be a follow-up email to this webinar with the recording, and also it'll have the slide deck for you and all the context that you need, so we can absolutely help you in the future. Andy, can I now pass over to you? Take it away. I've given you mouse control. I'll come back later. But yeah, please.
Great, thanks. And it's great to be with you all today. I'm just trying to get these slides to go forward, and they're not going forward. Hang on a second here. Why is it not going forward? So for some reason, Tasha, these slides are not forwarding. Here we go. Now they're forwarding. They'll probably forward like 30 at once. So we're going to spin through the world of Deborah in compliance. I thought a really good place to begin would be to just highlight the fact that Deborah's not just about compliance. That's probably a good place to start. So we answer sort of a very compelling business need today, particularly in a work from anywhere world. I'm sure many of you are working from home, to use unified call recording and voice intelligence, conversational intelligence, for everything from dispute resolution, customer experience, employee intelligence, through to what we're going to be talking about today, which is compliance. Now, I'm going to be sort of doing a bit of a primer on the world of compliance here and giving you a bit of a walkthrough on compliance in total. But I would point out that it is a complicated topic, and we're here to help in any way we can to help you navigate it. So as you encounter customer opportunities, or you encounter customers that want to engage with you and start getting into the weeds on compliance, do reach out to us. We're here to help. really, compliance for you is a crucial part of differentiating, driving significant incremental revenue, often 2 to 3 times the revenue would generate from just selling a raw connection or service, and it's incredibly sticky. Once you're in an account with a compliance solution, you're there for a very long time typically. And this really reflects a broader migration we're seeing across partners globally, from simply selling the connection to being able to monetize the value of the content riding on those connections. And this is a really crucial point, because what we're looking at in this new world is the idea that every single business out there is establishing new connections, whether it's Cisco, whether it's Microsoft Teams, whatever it might be. And now there's this significant opportunity, as all those connections are IP or database, to start turning them into rich, mineable content to give the business context. So I'm trying to paint a picture of a very, very significant multi-billion-dollar market opportunity that we see the smart partners around the world targeting and going after at the moment. These slides forward slowly. I'm trying to get it to go forward. Hang on a second here. So what's driving this? Well, first of all, the majority of crucial customer conversations today are still voice, and typically augmented with digital. If you think about the most important conversations you have in the world, they're generally voice-based, and that's true for most industries. Whether you're a mortgage lender, an investment banker, an advisor of some kind, voice still dominates. And today, the majority of those conversations are occurring outside of legacy endpoint connections. So they're happening from the home, from virtual call centers, from mobile devices and more, which is why there's this race on to record and capture those conversations, because legacy infrastructure, on-premise infrastructure, now needs to be migrated to the cloud and available across every and any endpoint. The challenge is today, less than 10% of those conversations are typically captured. So if you're dealing with a large financial institution, a medium-sized mortgage broker, a law firm, a betting agency, a wagering firm, an industrial disputes company, these are all people that are subject to different kinds of compliance mandates. And their ability to satisfy those compliance mandates has got incredibly complicated. Now, as I go through this, there's lots of words on these slides. You'll get a copy of all these slides, and you can call us with other questions. But there are a whole range of factors that are making this more and more difficult. And probably the overriding thing driving this sort of what we call the compliance chasm in many of these businesses is this really underlying need to know the customer and know what was said to the customer. You'll hear people talk about KYC in financial services, stands for Know Your Customer, and that's actually the starting point for all of these mandates. And if you're going to do that, you really need to be able to mitigate risk by knowing what was said and who it was said by, and prove and evidence that. And in many cases, you may only have a matter of hours to do that in responding to a regulator, which is why today we still see enormous fines being levied for non-compliance. And typically the non-compliance costs can be 2 to 3 times the cost of compliance itself. So there's enormous incentives in these institutions and businesses to address compliance. The challenges, as you can see here, is they're not typically answering just one compliance mandate. They're answering a multitude of mandates across their business. And they're typically answering global mandates. So certainly if you're dealing with a wagering firm, let's say in Australia, or a sports bet, a Tabcorp, someone like that, they'll be focused on Australian mandates. A large bank or a medium-sized financial institution will be focused on mandates out of the UK as they deal with their UK customers, where FINRA mandates that all calls are recorded. In Australia, they'll be dealing with APRA and asset regulations, and we'll talk about some of the new ones that are coming into market at the moment. And some of these new ones are things like Reg 271, which comes into effect in October, which is all about dispute resolution and being able to prove that you satisfactorily resolved and dealt with a dissatisfied customer. There's also a whole range of new anti-hawking laws. So these organizations are having to move from a reactive standing on compliance, where the regulator might ask them for information or for an investigation to be conducted, to a proactive stance where they're receiving keyword alerts, notifications, and more off the data. Now, what's crucial in here is when we look at some of the challenges these organizations are facing, it's really this sort of laddered effect, right? I actually can't start with regulatory compliance unless I start with being able to know my customer, with being able to store and preserve that data safely and securely, answer crucial things such as privacy and transaction compliance. So for instance, if I'm on a phone call with you and you ask for my credit card information, is that information now redacted in the records? Now, some people will say to me at this point, well, you know, if some of these applications I'm downloading, it could be Teams, could be Zoom, could be whatever, they already come with a record button. I can already record. Well, the challenge with those solutions, we refer that as basic personal recording, is they're generally non-compliant. So they don't have guarantees on data sovereignty. They don't have administrative permission control on downloading those conversations. They don't have all of the required AI and intelligence running on them. It can be quite hard to actually get to the recording. Those recordings are often stored locally. They're not aggregated in or locally in the cloud to a user. They're not aggregated organizationally. And more importantly, those recordings are often in one swim lane, one application. Whereas in a business, I'm sure many of you experience this in your working day. You could be hopping from a phone call. You could be then jumping on a Microsoft Teams call. You could then dragged into a Zoom call. Well, enforceable compliant call recording from Dubber, what that enables an organization to do is say, anytime my employee Andy engages with someone, that's recorded, stored in a central repository securely and very tightly managed. So enormously powerful in answering this need. Now, these organizations have, and I'm not going to go through these slides in detail, these are more for your background, they have significant issues. It takes them too long to respond. And talking to a bank down here recently, if someone said, hey, we need Andy Lark's calls to Tim, as Tim was applying for his mortgage a year ago, that could take them days and days and days to find that individual call. With Dubber, that takes them seconds. It's Google-like search. You can search the call, you can find the call. Not only that, but I can search keywords within the call and I can discover what was said at a particular point on a phone call. So we're trying to overcome these really key barriers that they're facing, and many of them don't believe they have the satisfactory infrastructure today. So this is an enormous opportunity as you're looking to sell in Microsoft Teams. Maybe you've sold in Cisco or Teams already, and now what you're looking to do is go back in and upsell the customer to richer solutions. Well, you've got the answer. And if you don't sell it, someone else is going to go in there and sell it, because these organizations are racing to address their compliance chasm. And underpinning this, crucially, is a much bigger lens. Once I've got this data, once I've converted these conversations from video or call or chat to data, I can now enrich my big data sets and start doing more with that data. I might want to, for instance, connect a conversation that Tim and I had about his mortgage to my Salesforce records, so that as I open my Salesforce records up, I can see all the conversations with Tim. I can see the customer sentiment on them. I can see keywords that might have been used. So this not only underpins compliance, but informs a much broader data strategy right across the entire business. So it's an enormously powerful way of organizations addressing that need for big data sets. And as I said, traditional personal app-based call recording really won't answer that need. It barely skims the surface on answering the need of modern compliance-driven enterprises. What's needed is compliant call recording at scale. And this compliant call recording, a good way of thinking about this is, I need to be able to capture really efficiently in accordance with data and privacy standards. I might need auto notification. I might feel as an organization, from a customer experience standpoint, the right thing for me to do is to tell you you're being recorded. Many don't bother with that today. I then want to know that data is safely secured. So if I've got a disgruntled or disenfranchised employee, they don't leave with all the recordings or download confidential internal training and share that with a competitor. I've now got a secure and immutable record of conversations that I'm assured aren't going to be misused or mishandled. You also want to be talking to them things such as, how would you do legal hold? So if suddenly I go, look, we need to start monitoring those employees. I want to impose a legal hold on their recordings. I don't want them to be able to be deleted by anybody. Well, Dubber enables you to build that fully compliant voice data set that's always protected and always secure. And then finally, how do I report and respond in real time? These are sort of the three building blocks that enable you to get to continuous compliance off your conversational data, and is something that is a major differentiator with Dubber. Now, there are many companies out there in the compliance game, right? So there are lots of companies, lots of fancy dashboards and compliance-specific applications. The great thing about Dubber is we fuel all of those applications with richer data set. So even if a customer you encounter might have a specific compliance solution or platform in place, what Dubber's data set is going to do is make that even richer, more relevant, and more accurate. It's going to become the way in which that data is able to be used with certainty that it's correct, it's accurate, and it's right. It just follows the normal philosophy in all things with data, garbage in, garbage out. If you're not actually capturing all the conversations correctly, if you don't have assurance that you're capturing conversations and converting them to data, then your compliance dashboard is actually not going to be worth that much. So Dubber puts you in a unique position to do that. So here's a quick example of a customer out there. This was a large Swiss private bank. In fact, we can send you the case study on this. There's plenty of case studies now up on dubber.net. You can go grab those. But if you have any trouble finding it, just let Tim or myself know, and we'll send you a pack of case studies to help you. In this case, it was really interesting in dealing with the chief risk officer here. They started with their trading desks. They needed to track and monitor all conversations, even when those people were working from home, and have automated surveillance. So they wanted to know sets of keywords that they needed to surface. If a trader, for instance, used words, you must buy this stock, or I recommend this stock, or I like this stock. Those are things traders can't do anymore. So they needed to know and get alerts on when those keywords were being surfaced. They also wanted the ability to go, look, something strange is going on over here. We want to track that specific employee for a period of time and see how they're doing. Now, I know all this sounds a little ominous and a little scary, but when you talk to the chief risk officer at the bank, it was very, very interesting, because his view was, this is about training. This is actually about training. This is actually about us coaching people. People are humans, so they make mistakes. They say the wrong thing. There are errors in what they do. What we want to do is be able to have a platform that enables us to pull up a set of conversations, go back to the employee and say, hey, good job on this, not great on this. This is the stuff you've got to watch. You can't actually do this anymore. So essentially what this saved them at the end of the day was not, he didn't see just the value in the hundreds of thousands of dollars they saved in just manual transcription costs, because all the transcriptions were being done automatically. It was really the millions, if not tens of millions of dollars of gain they got in having employees who were performing better, performing confidently, and knowing that they were actually saying the right thing at the right time to the right person. So this is just an example of unified call recording and the Dubber Voice Intelligence Cloud in action. What's really interesting was, when we first started talking to them, their response was, this sounds amazing. This is exactly what we need. How many months will this take to deploy? And they were very surprised that it was a matter of days. Literally, Dubber can turn on, be up and running and rock and rolling in a matter of days, and very simply and easily deployed. So this is a cloud-based SaaS solution native to the world's networks. It turns on with a click. So really simple to sell. It meets a definite customer need and requirement in the market today. and it's on with a click. So how do you get going? Well, a simple way of doing it is just simply to embed Dubber in every deal. Call recording is as a required function in most businesses today as any other feature they're getting in their service and solution offer. It's a dead easy add-on for existing customers, particularly anyone that you suspect is subject to compliance. Or another good trigger point is anyone that's dealing with customers where there are disputes occurring. There's a great example of this up on our site with Well Pets, a veterinary clinic chain, where Dubber saves them tens of thousands of dollars a month because now they can easily resolve customer disputes that were leading to expensive legal claims. So it's a dead easy add-on for existing customers. It generates instant margin for you, often double at what you might have been earning off your just selling the raw connection. So you can add millions and millions of dollars of ARR to your revenue chain within your business. Tim's going to touch in a minute on some of the great rewards we've got for you. And behind that, what we know is equally important is Dubber's here to support you. We have terrific training resources available. We have market development funds. If you want to reach your customers, for instance, with a LinkedIn campaign, we'll help execute that with you. We'll help fund that with you. We'll co-brand materials. We'll hold, in this day and age, virtual workshops for customers if you'd like. Whatever you need, we're here to support you in answering what is a very, very compelling market need. You can jump onto dubber.net, register on the portal if you want to get going, and obviously Ingram's an amazing organization that's here to support you and help you go and get selling. So that's a bit of a fast walkthrough on the world of Dubber and compliance. With that, I'll hand back to Tim now, who's going to talk to you a bit about the benefits of Dubber and where and how to sell Dubber and some of the things that you'll get for engaging with Dubber. I've got to run and do another webinar right now, but Tim will take this from this point forward, and feel free to shoot me any questions you might have if there are areas you want to go deeper in on them. andy.lark@dubber.net. You can find me on LinkedIn as well, and I'll be happy to take it offline and answer other questions you've got. So over to you, Tim.
You just go ahead and direct me here, Tim. I will be your slide lady.
No problem. Thanks very much, Andy. That was fantastic. Great overview. And thanks, Tasha, for being the controller of the slide.
Thank you, Andy.
I had to stop myself to make sure I was being politically correct there. So yeah, as Andy mentioned, so you're probably thinking, it gets the real brain going of where is a relevance for my customer base? How do I find these things? I mean, it's we're talking a lot about just recording here. So what I'm looking to do here is really helping uncover demand in terms of solving this compliance hurdle. So here's some of the questions that you could be having cognizant to be have top of mind when you're having conversations with customers. Thinking about are these conversations happening outside of a call center, e.g. on mobile, Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx, and Zoom. And what we're seeing a lot more of is that's exactly the case. So a lot of customers might today have call recording in their contact center, and they're all okay with that. But it's that all the knowledge workers and the back office workers that may or may not have a direct conversation with the end customer, but are all involved in the conversations with an end customer. So are those being recorded? And what we see is traditionally the contact center vendors, it's far too expensive to deploy recording out to the entire user base, whereas Dubber's an affordable solution. In addition, we can actually ingest all the recordings out of a contact center platform and actually pull those into Dubber to make sure you've got that 360-degree view and the ability to ensure compliance there. So that's a key one to think about. And then how do you record these calls today? Back to Andy's point earlier, are you recording them using an app on the phone, or using something where you can record off a team session and store it in Stream or in OneDrive? So it's not a compliant recording solution. So just being cognizant of that. Is the way you capture and store calls compliant? Do you store these in a central repository how long are they stored? So this is all wrapped into what I was just talking about, really, ensuring that, you are doing things in a compliant way, because there's a big difference between a compliant recording solution and a non-compliant recording solution. So, when we're talking to regulatory bodies, it really is, if it's non-compliant, then, it's as good as not actually doing it, because it can actually be used in a way that you might want it to be. Dubber as a platform stores calls indefinitely, so that, if it's one call from yesterday, last year, 10 years ago, and if you're using the AI solution, you can search for specific words in conversation. So, well, even if there's something new that you discover, it's like, wow, I wonder how many times that's occurred in the last couple of years. Being able to then search back through calls to actually find the text related to that. Do you need to conduct rapid audits and investigations? So, being able to have accessibility to live data, so not having anything that's in, offline storage or blob storage, being able to rapidly get to your data you want and provide that for other people to review. How do you monitor compliance breaches today? So that's, talking again, you've got that great case study from the Swiss bank, and is that something that, is being done in a structured way, not just call recording, but then utilizing the power of AI to build out capabilities to ensure that you're on top of compliance breaches, as they happen, not sort of having to wait and sort of go back and look at, the multiple cases you should have actually been aware of previously. And do you need to provide compliance reporting to regulators or management? So, having this there, coming back to compliant versus non-compliant, having the ability to provide a comprehensive overview to regulators that might need it, or to management, or a vehicle to make sure that, you can show that everything is being stored and treated in both a confidential and a compliant manner. So obviously, they're the questions. The answer to all of this is that, we're capturing 100% of calls regardless of the network or the platform. We're ensuring that, the calls are compliant. We meet privacy, data sovereignty requirements. You can do real-time search via a secure portal, whether that call was recorded yesterday, it was recorded 10 years ago. It won't look any different in terms of the way you rapidly find that information. Our leading voice AI solution ensures that, you can automate a lot of this functionality, understand the sentiment of customers, being able to get alerts and notifications based on potential breaches or other things that you want to be notified on, and then being able to build out, dashboards and reporting to make sure you are staying on top of what's happening within the organisation. Thanks, Tasha. Next slide. Finally, what I wanted to just give an overview is, a great channel rewards program that we have running for Ingram Micro partners. Gives you the ability to earn up to $5,000. So very, very simple to partake in this. Essentially, we're paying $5 per endpoint for opportunities that are registered. So that opportunity or that doesn't have to, or lead doesn't have to close. It might be something you're working on. It might be something you can notify. You're having conversations with existing customer base as opposed to new. Register the opportunity on the Dubber website, and we will to earn that $5. In addition, if those opportunities are over 150 ends, we'll pay a 2 times booster for those opportunities there. Very simple to do. So all you need to do is identify the prospect. As I said, it could be something you're working on at the moment, a customer you've identified as someone you're wanting to approach in the future, or an existing customer you have in your base that could be a good prospect for Dubber. Then go and register the opportunity via the Dubber website. You can see the link at the bottom of the page there. But happy to follow up and provide that. And finally, then schedule a customer demo with Dubber. So this is the crucial validation piece of just making sure that we do have that verified that the customer is interested. They say they are, and that is a real opportunity. So that's it, though. That's a very simple process, and on that basis, then you can earn up to $5,000 each.
That's brilliant. That's really, really good. Thank you, Tim. That is amazing. I'm just checking to see if we have any questions in the chat box. Nope, not at the moment. But I'll come back to you in a couple of minutes, and hopefully we'll have some questions for you. I know I have a couple of questions, so hold tight. I'm going to just spend the next maybe 4 or 5 minutes just showing some screenshots of how to purchase Dubber on our marketplace. People on the call who are familiar with the Ingram Microcloud Marketplace will recognize this landing page. So you log into our landing page, and Dubber, of course, is under communication and collaboration. Of course, why wouldn't it not be? So click on there, and from here you can access the resources and other links that Dubber has put on their page here. Fantastic information, easy to navigate, but to actually purchase the product, you click in with your username and password. If you don't have one, it's super easy to get access to our marketplace. We can have you up and running within 48 hours. Just really quite an easy process. So here we have the main products that Dubber sell through Ingram. There's the Premier Edition, which is really the main product that everyone is going to be interested in. The Premier, it's per user per month with an annual commit, and that is the SKU that you would buy whether you're using Teams, Zoom, Telstra, or Cisco. And then there's the compliance add-ons that you can have. And here you have, this is just for a little bit of clarity, you means individual, for yourself. And Teams is the product for a group of people. Doesn't mean Microsoft Teams, it's for a group of people. And please can interrupt me if I'm just not talking the truth here. And super easy, select what products you want, increase the quantity to what you need. As I mentioned, annual commit, but charged monthly, like the majority of our products are on the marketplace. And select your existing customer or create your customer being the end user or the recipient of the product. And then this is the parameters page. So this is the information that Dubber needs to be able to provision the subscription. So you select your country. Australia, by default, I would assume is where your customer is sitting, but because Dubber is also in the UK and the US, and if you do have large organizations that are across the world, this is where you would select where they sit, and then the platform that you're using. Simple as that. Easy. And then, like any good e-commerce page, you just basically click to buy. You agree to the terms, and you're done. And provisioning on the Dubber side is not instantaneous. It does take a real life person on the back end to do some things, and they will contact you if they require any more information. But really, it's really quite fast. I mean, we'll provision into your system within 48 hours. But Tim, as far as it then being deployed at the customer end, how long does that take? Is that kind of simple, or does it take a lot of involvement from the reseller, or is it all done by you guys? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's quite straightforward, Tasha. I mean, we have deliberately developed a solution that's quite easy for the end customer to utilize. So happy for anyone who's interested, we can set up some demos to show the end user experience. But the portal is very easy to use. We provide all documentation on all of that. The setup's quite straightforward. From once the provisioning is done, calls have been recorded, they're available in the portal and can very easily be retrieved. So there's very little that really needs to be done from that point.
Oh, brilliant. And then another question that I was asked on our last webinar call was about the AI part of Dubber and how you leverage IBM Watson. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah, sure. So we have a strategic relationship with IBM. So on the back of that, we provide both the transcription and then also the additional metadata, etc., like sentiment. So for example, and the IBM Watson provides, I guess, all the smarts behind that. The sentiment's a great one because we actually capture 7 emotions within the sentiment. So it's not just looking at positive, neutral, and negative, you're delving into angry, joyful, tentative, different emotions in there. So it gives you the ability to even trigger alerts based on, if the sentiment equals anger, then you could potentially trigger an alert based on that. Or if not, being able to group calls and really drive down and just identify those angry calls and actually look at those of a subset of trying to explore and understand what an issue might be. So I guess the very, very top level, yes, the IBM Watson relationship gives us the power to provide all those AI insights, Tasha.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. We got another one here. Tim, can this solution be deployed to existing VoIP solutions provided by third parties, or do we need control of the PBX?
A great question. So, because we work on we're a cloud-based solution, and we work really at the I guess the carrier level or at the service provider level. So the WebEx, the likes of Microsoft Teams, Telstra, etc. Where there's an on-site PABX, where we can't, generally speaking, we can't get the get access to the recordings. There are exceptions to that. If we're able to get a SIPREC feed, so of the call data, then yes, absolutely, we can record that. Similarly, if it's Cisco Call Manager, for example, on-premise Call Manager, then we have a solution that we can actually deploy for that. If it's a NEC PABX, then we can't get access to that data.
Gotcha. I hope that answers your question, Mark. That was a really good one. And then another one I think that is important to reiterate is around when you're accepting credit card information or sensitive data, if you're capturing that, or how do you manage that from the user experience?
Yeah, sure. So we're able to utilize pause and resume. So when you are taking credit cards, you've got the ability to pause the recording, and obviously you want to not just pause the recording, but if you're using the AI insights, you're wanting the credit card numbers to not be captured in text as well. So pausing both the audio and the text. So those functionalities are built into each of the platforms that we support.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I would hope so, but it's always worth noting something as important as that. I'm just going to see if there's any other last questions in the chat box. No, that sounds good. I really appreciate your time, Tim. I think everyone on the call is more educated now on compliance. So Andy does such a good job explaining how the solution works. And as I said, the recording and the slides and this information that I'm showing you right now will be available to everyone who registered and attended the call. We'll send that out in a couple of days. Marketing materials, sales support, the links so that you can register your deal. All of that is available. And remember too that for demonstration or trials, that Dubber absolutely can provide that for you and your customer for no charge. Tim can, I know that Tim, you'll help with that. So just reach out, absolutely. Thank you. We had a really good turnout today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Talk to you soon, guys. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.